Why did your life turn to helping people? And most of the times the misconception is helping men with pornography issues. No, women are falling into this category. They're becoming more transparent about it as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a good point to make, right? It is, it is a human issue, both men and women. Here at Rebuild to Recovery, though, we have really planted our flag on the male side of things. And there's reasons, behind that. Like I'm a marketer. I understand messaging. I understand creating avatars. I understand really dialing a niche. And the more narrow you can get in who it is you're serving, the better that message is going to be able to come across,
Sure.
particularly reach those. I mean, the podcast work that we do obviously reaches both men and women, but in terms of the coaching, I've had women reach out, and at this point, we're not interested in bringing them into our world. A, for one, because I think the men need a safe place to have
Sure.
the conversation, right? I think that's the biggest thing that I'm hoping we get out of here today is just the openness and willingness to explore this conversation. I think that's important. And I think that really helps men that are struggling, really begin to remove a lot of that shame. You only have shame because you're not talking about what you're struggling through. The minute you open it up and you realize, like, my behaviors, my addiction, they are not a part of me. They're choices and decisions that I made. Because that's what shame ultimately is, right? It's like you looking at something that you're doing and saying, because I'm doing this, that makes me a bad person.
Yep.
And none of us are bad people. We may make some bad choices. We may make bad decisions in life, but that shouldn't allow us to look at ourselves through the negative lens. So I know I'm not answering your question here, but we do focus on serving the men because our mission is ultimately bigger than just removing porn out of these men's lives. I don't think that the actual problem that men are struggling with is with porn in and of itself. I think a lot of times it's an identity issue. So over the last 18 months, our, if you call it mission statement or, purpose of what we're creating with Rebuild Recovery is no longer about helping men overcome porn addiction. That was where I started, and I'll get to answering your question here in a minute. We've evolved it into helping men become better men by quitting porn first and then rebuilding their lives. So I do feel I have a unique skill set in terms of at least the industry that I'm in, with having a background in corporate leadership, being a trainer for 15, 20 years, being a bodybuilder, leading large and small teams. Like, if I just helped men remove porn and I didn't actually give them tools to become a better man, to become a better father, to become a better leader, to become a better business owner, then I wasn't utilizing my full skill set. So to answer your question, why did I do this? It's because it's what I'm here to do. This was not something I when I was in high school and you're writing down career days, what do you want to do? Yeah, I want to work in the porn addiction industry. Actually, to be honest, like up until 2018, 2019, I didn't even really know that there was a real industry for these things. But getting it out of my life 3.5, almost 4 years ago, the way that I began to see the world a whole lot differently, the way that I began to see myself in the world incredibly different, led me to launching a podcast. So everything I do here started with just a mission to share my story to help transform people's lives. So I launched a podcast in July of 2019. It's called The Superhuman Life. We're 141 episodes. It's a weekly interview style show. And for me, the podcast was because, like I said, I began to see the world a whole lot differently as I was going through what we call like a reboot, where your brain begins to kind of rewire. You begin to see things a whole lot differently. You begin to experience more purpose and joy and meaning in this world. So had always been interested in podcasting. I'd been a consumer and listener for many, many years. And during my struggles and my addiction, I actually had probably 10 to 15, maybe even more, like podcast ideas that I wanted to start. It was literally me having to go through this journey that revealed to me, like, this is going to be the story of the podcast. So episode 1 was, the 90-minute kind of journey, from addicts, struggling with sex, drugs, alcohol, pornography being the big one, to ultimately, transcending that, overcoming that, realizing that I was meant for so much more. That led us to the podcast. 3-4 months into the podcast, we had tons of success, and you got recognized by Apple, new and noteworthy. I'd had an email list that, was on the fitness side, and I had a little bit of a public, Instagram and whatnot. So we were able to kind of get some early traction.
Sure.
But what's interesting, Jason, is, 3-4 months into the show, it's like the messages that I began to receive from men, because I've been coaching people online. So it was always, people would send me messages weekly or emails. Hey, thank you for your programs. Thank you for, the stuff you're putting on Instagram. Thank you for the YouTube videos. Like, you're helping us get bigger. You're helping us get stronger. You're helping us get shredded 6-pack. which is amazing, right? If you can help somebody transform their physique, if that's going to go on to help them live a better life, I think that there's a lot of meaning in that. But what's cool, Jason, is those messages of thank you for helping me build my body slowly started to stop. And it was thank you for your conversations. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for your willingness to address the topics that most people won't look into. So that was the first 3-4 months.